Content warning. This video contains discussion of anxiety, OCD, and panic attacks. Good morning, Nerdfighteria. At the time this video comes out, the Project for Awesome will have ended 2 weeks ago. What you are currently watching is the construction of one of the 15 bracelets that I created as a Nerdfighter art perks for the Project for Awesome. Each of these bracelets took roughly 5 to 6 hours to construct and are made by tying knot upon knot upon knot. It is, by all accounts, a monotonous process. But over the years, this monotonous process has been imperative to me getting through this thing we call life. My mom taught me how to make friendship bracelets in 2007 when I was 8 years old. We were going on a road trip to Washington, D.C., and she thought it might be a fun thing for me to do in the car. I immediately was enamored with it and made quite a few bracelets on that road trip. Periodically, I would get mixed up with which knots I was supposed to do with which strings, and it would all get messed up. I would take it to my mom, and seemingly by magic, she would get it back on track and straightened out for me, and I would be able to continue on working. Over the years, I got busy with school, and this little hobby of mine fell away. Jump ahead to high school, and I was a mess. My anxiety levels were higher than they had ever been before. I'd begun to have panic attacks where I felt like I couldn't breathe, my eyes couldn't focus on words in front of me, I could barely speak, and my hands and feet would go numb. It was terrifying. Even when I wasn't having a panic attack, the background anxiety was intense. Sometimes when I was at robotics, it would get to be so much that I would sit under tables just to feel secure and protected. One day at robotics, a friend of mine and I spent a long time braiding strands of fishing line because we wanted to make it stronger for some project or another, and that's when I remembered the friendship bracelets. I got out my mom's old embroidery thread and started making bracelets again. The repetitive motions were so soothing, it was something to focus on and make progress on that didn't require any critical thinking. Around that time, I also discovered that I have OCD, though I wasn't diagnosed for a few years after that. OCD is an anxiety disorder characterized by obsessive thinking. For me, the most constant repetition in my head is an obsession with whether or not I am a terrible person. Sometimes I basically lose touch with reality, thinking over and over and over again that I am a terrible person. The smallest things that I see as shortcomings can trigger it. For example, I left work the other day and thought spiraled all the way home because I had spent the last 10 minutes at work not accomplishing anything because I was too anxious to ask where the return to stock list was. This was, if anything, a tiny transgression that does not matter in the grand scheme of things, but because I had not done perfectly, my brain took that and started picking it apart, recalling all the other mistakes I have made in my life and repeating to me over and over and over that I was a terrible person, always in those exact words. You are a terrible person. Just writing the script and speaking these words terrifies me because I live in constant fear of a thought spiral being triggered. I fear that saying these words out loud will somehow make them true, that I really am a terrible person. These thought spirals are the most isolating thing I have ever experienced. When it gets really bad, reality fades away, and it's just me with my thoughts. This mindless work of tying knot after knot after knot, these repetitive motions, they connect me to reality. They are a lifeline that keeps me present when my brain is doing everything in its power to suck me in. I'm prone to all sorts of repetitive movements when I'm anxious. I rub my legs or gently scratch at my arms. I use it almost like a stim, though I'm not sure if that is the most proper usage of that word. These movements cannot and do not stop the thought spiral, but they do help me get through it. I'm not sure this video has an entirely coherent thought, but here's a little peek into my brain and the way that these bracelets are not only art that I'm happy to create for other people, but also a lifeline to reality for me. Leave any questions you have about OCD in general or my specific OCD in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer. If you suspect you or someone you know may have OCD, I will leave some links to resources in the description, and I highly recommend reaching out to a mental health professional for help. I cannot even begin to express how important therapy is in learning to live with OCD. DFTBA, and I hope to see one of you next week in a new video.